Hi, this is Greg Pyatt with Sin City Precision and TRGRiQ, and I'm here to walk you through how to swap out the trigger on a Ruger precision rifle to replace it with the new two-stage Timney trigger. So, as far as tools go, it's pretty simple. All you need is a 3/16 wrench, and then you're going to need a 5/32 wrench, and then a soft rubber mallet just in case we need to persuade something. So with that said, let's get started. First thing we can do is we need to remove 3 cap head screws to take the lower shroud off, and that's going to be the first one, which is hidden in the folding stock portion back here where this little marker is. And then we'll have to take this cap head screw off and this cap head screw off. So I'll go and turn some screws and I'll get right back to you. Alright, now before we go any further, just wanted to make sure we should have had our rifle in safe. It makes it easier to pull this whole assembly out. So now that I have these 3 screws removed, I can just lift this whole portion up and away it goes. And you'll see we have our trigger housing assembly here. And just to make life easy on myself, this probably isn't necessary, but I removed these 2 bolts here and here so I could then remove this whole buttstock assembly, giving myself a little bit more room right over here where I'm going to have to pull up this detent and then slide this whole unit back, which we'll get to in just a minute. So stay tuned. I undid the 2 cap head screws, my bracket came off, and now I just pull these 2 bolts out and this whole assembly will slide on out. And there we go, plenty of room to work now. Nothing's in my way. So now all that's really left is to undo the cap head screw here, and then you'll notice right where my finger is, there's a J portion where it slides. Right now there's a pin up here at the top portion of your screen, and normally it's down at the bottom of this little J pin, and all you have to do is pop that up so it relieves the pressure so it's easy to pull. So I'm going to undo this screw, and then we're just about ready to pull this thing out. So with that screw gone, this dark gray portion material needs to get pulled up. So I'm going to use both hands here, pull it up, and you'll see here it's raised up right now, and then just slide it back. And if you have to, you can lightly tap it pulled up on this dark gray portion. Lifted it up as high as I could with both hands, and then started pulling back, and the unit would slide back, free itself out, and then just lift right up. Not too bad. Sometimes this portion gets a little bit sticky, but we can work through that, and sometimes we need the hammer to persuade it just a little bit. But with that said, it's really easy to install the Ruger precision rifle Timney trigger, which we have here. But before we do that, I just want to talk about how we can do adjustments if we need to. Remember, this is a 2-stage trigger, so there's 2 parts to it. First is the first stage, which is pulling the trigger back so it gets to a certain amount of pressure, and then you're at stage 2, which is what is actually going to make the sear break and then the rifle fire. So for the first stage, it's factory set at 8 ounces. I think that's a really great number to be at. But if you want to make any adjustment, it is hidden right here on the inside. And it might be a little bit hard to see, but right inside here, there's a small Allen screw, and you can turn that to either make it more or less ounces, because it goes from 8 to 16 ounces for that first stage. Once you have that where you need it, or if you just don't mess with it at all because it comes factory at 8, you can then go to the front, right where the cap head screw would go. There's another screw here, and you can turn that out to give yourself less trigger pull weight. So once you have the first stage, you can actually install it and then adjust stage 2 on the fly if you want to. So we'll put this guy in place, really easy with the Timney version, and then just secure it and we're ready to go. Set our first stage trigger pull, or left it at the 8 ounces. We're now ready to get this guy installed, and then we can start tuning what trigger we want to pull. So we can first slide this guy in place, move it forward. Simple as that. It's just that easy. Put our cap screw in, tighten that thing down. So now that you have your trigger installed, you can essentially just get your safety selector switch, put it in place, flick it to the on position, put your bolt in place, And then you can do all the trigger tests you need to do to adjust your second stage trigger, which remember, the adjustment is right here in the front. Normally you turn that out, and that makes it a lighter second stage trigger pull. Once that's all squared away, you can put your system back in safe, pull your bolt out, and then you can reassemble your buttstock and then put your lower shield back in place, the lower halves. And it's just that easy. So we put this guy in place, take our AR-15 safety selector out, our bolts, and they line up in the notches there. And then it's just as simple as screwing these things back in place. And then once that's done, put our halves together for our lower, slide it in place, and then it's just the 3 cap head screws. 1, 2, and then 3. Now you're ready to go pew.